tumkaribishe kwa makofi anapoingia Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Tukiwa sote tumesimama, naomba tuungane sote kwa pamoja tuimbe kifungu cha kwanza cha wimbo wa taifa wa Jamhuri ya Kenya kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. The Afro-Plastic Voices of Kenya is a choral group started in January this year by Mwalimu Sylvester Otieno of Kenyatta University. The group draws its membership from Nairobi County and its environs. The choir will now present Tutailinda Kenya kwa vyovyote vile.
Kenya,
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to the choir, and also to His Excellency the President, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Afro Classics Choir from Nairobi. Engineer Dr. Karaita Kepicho to take up the program. Bwana PS.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Ambassador Dr. Amina Mohamed, Cabinet Secretary Oigoro, Cabinet Secretary Kaiseri, my colleague PSs who are here, ambassadors and high commissioners, the Kenyan diaspora, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Your Excellency, we are having very good ideas from the diaspora, and today our program is going to have two components, Your Excellency. The first component of this program is the official opening, and the second segment of this is the interactive session with His Excellency the President. And because we must continue growing in new ideas, Your Excellency, we set up the stage with those two segments in mind. And it's my pleasure now, Your Excellency, to invite you to take your position so that we can do the opening segment and continue with the interactive session. I will also invite Ambassador Amina Mohamed to join His Excellency, and Sophia, who will, it's just a new style from the diaspora, Your Excellency. Program. And I want to thank the following sponsors for really your effort in trying to bring this interaction between the private sector and government to become real. KCB, Cooperative Bank, Family Bank, those were our platinum sponsors. National Bank, Dahabshir Limited, World Remit Limited, those are gold sponsors. Imperial Bank and Liberty, those are silver sponsors. We have Chase Bank that sponsored the golf tournament. We have the Kenya USA Diaspora Sacco, who will be sponsoring for us today's lunch. We have Equity Bank for the opening dinner, and Barclays Bank for networking cocktail. Let us give them a round of applause. And Your Excellency, as we planned this, we had to engage the private sector and entice them a bit so that they can see the fruits of this engagement. And because we are honorable people, we will stick to the deal. We agreed on something that we'll mention shortly. But before that, Your Excellency, allow me to invite a representative from the diaspora who lives in Japan, Dr. Emmanuel Mutisia, to come and give short remarks.
Your Excellency, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Cabinet Secretaries present, ambassadors, distinguished guests, my fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Yes, from the outset, I wish to take this opportunity to bring you warm greetings and best wishes from all Kenyans in Japan. I also wish to thank the organizers of this event for according the diaspora the privilege of being here today in the first such conference in recent history. Your Excellency, today is April the 1st. I know it's Sports Day, but my message is not a prank. Mr. President, I believe I speak for the diaspora if I sincerely congratulate and thank your government for the deliberate efforts you are making to bring us together as part of the Kenyan nation. We feel both valued and proud to be Kenyans, for we are truly committed to travel together with our brothers and sisters on the voyage to achieve Vision 2030 and bequeath ourselves the Kenya we all want to see. In this regard, I wish to start by expressing our utmost appreciation for the work being done by some of our diplomatic missions abroad, like our embassy in Tokyo. Such missions are led by ambassadors who understand that Kenya's development will be achieved faster through inclusivity, and that the initiatives by Kenyans in the diaspora count. We believe that other Kenyan missions elsewhere are equally passionate in the pursuit of our country's agenda away from home. Your Excellency, when you look at our country's economic statistics today, it is worth to appreciate the far we have come and to recognize that our country's place and influence in the global arena is steadily growing. We are now a middle-income economy, and Kenya is today among the top largest economies in Africa. Our country is among the 3 fastest growing economies in the world, only next to China and the Philippines. And Kenya has been selected as among the lucky 7 countries of the best emerging markets and one of the best investment destinations globally. We commend the government's continued efforts, Mr. President, in making Kenya attractive through impressive infrastructure development, among other developments. Mr. President, this conference is an eloquent testimony of your government's keen interest in the active participation of the diaspora in national development. We note that only in January 2015, you launched the diaspora policy, which seeks to empower us Kenyans abroad to make greater and more effective contribution to national development, which has enabled us to easily engage and interact with our government. Thank you very much for all these efforts. Your Excellency, you will be happy to know that Kenyans in diaspora are taking you very seriously. For instance, with support from the embassy, Kenyans in Japan have taken your advice regarding collective investments and have now registered a collective investment vehicle to take advantage of investment opportunities back home by pooling our resources together. Mr. President, while Kenyans in diaspora are known to make huge remittances, what is less known is the amount of money lost per annum by these same Kenyans every time they want to invest back home. We hope, Mr. President, that this conference will come up with possible solutions, including ensuring that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will include offering advice to the members of the diaspora on investment opportunities. Mr. President, when we examine the list of Kenyans in diaspora, we find that these are highly qualified, highly disciplined, and highly patriotic Kenyans with expertise in different areas of development. Some are specialist doctors, while others are lawyers, we have engineers, nuclear scientists, nanotechnologists, media experts, IT gurus, people of high repute. We know that Kenyan professionals will be found in some of the best institutions around the world. Our mission as Kenyans abroad is to promote perspectives that harness the potential among the diaspora for Kenya's development. What can the diaspora do, Mr. President? It is not what our government can do for us, but what we can do in partnership with our government to support national development. Your Excellency, Kenyans abroad would be very happy if our government could recognize the available expertise among the diaspora by giving them priority in consultancies and other specialist engagements before they can hire foreigners. Moreover, Mr. President, Kenyans abroad are ready and possess the willingness and motivation to fully serve our country. Consequently, Your Excellency, it would be desirable if the government can establish a data bank of national expertise to include the diaspora. This will help the government to identify and recruit the right people for both national and international jobs. Mr. President, Kenyans in the diaspora are also partnering with our embassies to vigorously market Kenya as the investment gateway to Africa. And many international companies and corporations are taking heed. By expanding their operations into Kenya, these companies become vehicles for innovation, knowledge and technology sharing and exchange, which is good for our country's development. In this sense, we now believe more than ever before that the diaspora can be a reliable bridge between Kenya and the rest of the world in terms of investment promotion. Mr. President, as part of our active participation in the national development, the diaspora is keen to vote in the next general election. Please see how this can be done. Moreover, we'll be happy to see Kenyan media abroad to showcase Kenya in some of the good things that are happening in our country. In closing, Your Excellency, we, the diaspora, fully appreciate the government's efforts in transforming Kenya. Mr. President, your State of the Nation address last week was a clear evidence of your vision for the Kenya that we want to see. We, the diaspora, allowed you, Mr. President, for leading the fight against corruption from the front, because these corrupt individuals are tainting our government, our country, and denying all of us to live in a Kenya that we so much desire, where the police enforce the laws with equity, fairness, and justice, where institutions are respected, and where everyone matters. We also recognize, Mr. President, that nation building takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources, and a lot of patience, because Rome was not built in a day. While our country faces considerable challenges, we note that these challenges are not unique to Kenya, and we commend the government's efforts, Mr. President, in combating insecurity, poverty, and corruption for smooth delivery of services to the people. We support you in this fight, Mr. President, and we will work with you on this long and difficult journey, because if we cannot do it as Kenyans, nobody else will do it for us. In the next 2 days, I hope we will come up with a diaspora investment framework that brings together the government, the industry, and the diaspora to innovatively transform the issues before us into business opportunities for Kenyans abroad. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, my fellow Kenyans, we have heard what we have to do, we've seen what we need to do. Now is the time to do it, and together we can do it. Asanteni sana.
The CEO, KCB, Mr. Joshua Igara, so that you don't accuse me later.
Listening to you a couple of weeks ago when you launched Enterprise Kenya, a journey towards 1 million new businesses, and I do believe that for diasporans, this is a fantastic opportunity to plug in, to invest. I think the real question, Your Excellency, today is about how can we invest? And it's good to see a president who is more digital on Twitter and Facebook, and you can as well, and so to appreciate that actually, you can reach him. So it's not too far away, in my view. And think about the I-hubs, the D-hubs, all the hubs we have today in terms of digital. You're asking about how do you invest? I think we need to see much more investment today from diaspora. Roughly 25% of inflows go into investment out of $1.5 billion that comes every year. Your Excellency, we like this kind of forum to increase that tenfold to 50, 60%. Because the time to build Kenya is now. There is no other person outside. And I listened to you last year during the African Summit in Kigali when I shared a forum with you in Kagame. Africa can only be built today by Africans, and Kenyans must be at the forefront on building their own nation. I think for too long we're looking for someone else. There's a lot of capital today, so if we can increase the $1.5 billion worth of inflows 10 times to $15 billion, then we are talking about real projects we have, infrastructure, roads and ports and schools, water system, energy. This is how we can be able to collaborate in terms of building a better country. As a bank, we're very much involved. We've been pioneers in the beginning. Our role today is to be a catalyst, to orchestrate the vision that you have as a government, to make sure that inside, outside, we all get to invest. Good morning.
Thank you, Joshua, for those remarks. May I now call upon Dr. Gideon Muriuki, the CEO of Cooperative Bank, to give a few remarks.
Your Excellency, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Ambassador Amina Mohammed, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Devolution and Planning, Mrs. Anwe Guru, known for being #1 on many frontiers, right from our gallant sportsmen and women, our diverse wildlife heritage, to the now globally recognized innovations, notably in mobile technology. But I would also want to take a minute this morning to highlight to us that Kenya has actually the most established and successful cooperative sector in Africa. We have over 15,000 cooperative societies across all the sectors of the economy, and Your Excellency, with over 10 million members. In fact, 50% of the entire cooperative movement in Africa is here in Kenya. Out of these 15,000 cooperative societies, 7,400 are saccos. Your Excellency, as you're aware, they have mobilized over 400 billion in domestic savings with nationwide representation offering an parallel platform for capital raising, not to mention the huge benefits on financial deepening. It's no wonder then, as a bank, core bank, predominantly owned by the cooperative movement, that Cooperative Bank is the largest bank in Africa. Under the Millennium Development Goals, the issue of inclusive growth has been brought out as a key objective to ensure that even as economies grow, the benefits of that growth should not leave behind sectors of the population. That already SACCOs have been formed by Kenyans living abroad, including we have already Kenya USA Diaspora Sacco, we have the Kenya UK Sacco, we have the Kenya Qatar Sacco in Doha, and in UAE Sacco in Dubai, and they have already opened accounts and they are already sending money. And we continue to see that happening. There's a lot of money coming in, going to personal savings, going to issues of housing and mortgages, going into personal investment plans, and of course, the issue of cash transfers. I wanted to say that this forum is therefore quite timely, and I'd encourage our ambassadors and higher commissions stationed across the world, then as you go back there, to aggressively form SACCOs in their various regions. Not only do you then mobilize funds for investments, but also they are excellent vehicles to bring people together.
Your Excellency, Sir, Honorable Muigai Kenyatta, CGH, Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, the Cabinet Secretary is present, Principal Secretaries, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege and an honor to address this distinguished guest on behalf of Family Bank, who are platinum sponsors. Your Excellency, this is a time of great hope, optimism, and opportunity. Kenya has taken off on a journey to prosperity, and there was no better time to mainstream these critical components in diaspora for the realization of our national goals. To say the least, those who have been in this country for those many years are extremely excited to see our brothers and sisters out there look at this country favorably in terms of coming back to make a difference. Your Excellency, we commend your government for coming up with the Kenya Foreign and Diaspora Policy, the first since attaining independence. It's not lost that there has been enormous efforts by many stakeholders, and we envision that a more robust engagement with the various players will drive this agenda ahead. Your Excellency, just looking at statistics, because bankers, we are pretty numbers people, 1.43 billion US dollars remittance equates 2.4% of our gross domestic product. Clearly confirming that the remittances from the diaspora are quite significant, because 25% of them put into investment arguably are higher than what we receive from foreign direct investments. Your Excellency, then, it puts us at a point where we need to ask ourselves, do we look for foreign direct investors, or do we look for Kenyans in the diaspora to plug back and plug into the several opportunities that are evolving in our country? The dramatic gap between the desire to invest and the ability to invest just needs us to address three key components. One, transparency. Number two, regulation. And number three, administration.
Your Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, my fellow Cabinet Secretaries, Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, Honorable Members of Parliament, Honorable Members of the Senate, members of the Kenya Diaspora, our distinguished sponsors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the Kenya Diaspora Easter Investment Conference 2015. We have already been asked, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that this is an annual event. It's a directive that came from His Excellency the President, and we intend to ensure that that actually happens. So this is going to be the first of many investment conferences. Now, before making my my few remarks, I'd just like to invite my colleagues. As the Principal Secretary did, to thank our sponsors and all those who have been involved in the organization of this conference. And specifically our platinum sponsors, the Kenya Commercial Bank, the Cooperative Bank, and the Family Bank. Is that our brothers and sisters in the diaspora can be part of the revival and growth taking place in Africa and in Kenya in particular. Your participation represents the best way we can together give practical relevance to the narrative of our common nationhood, our common ancestry, our historic resilience, and our aspirations for a better country and a better continent. Your Excellency, in the course of my interactions with the diaspora, I realized quite sadly, in fact, that some in the diaspora do not have a correct fact sheet on the latest developments in our country. And that has already been mentioned by the representative of the diaspora. They don't have the correct fact sheet on the latest developments in Kenya, partly due to distance, but also, I think, due to the exposure to inaccuracies in media reports that use outdated information and statistics. So, to shed some light on recent developments, therefore, allow me to mention that democracy, political and economic stability have taken root in our country, and in fact, in many parts of our continent. We also intend to provide investment management services, the development of specific products, and incentives that are specifically targeted to certain diaspora in certain countries abroad. And this will include, of course, government securities and public-private partnership engagements. We are also exploring other combinations of initiatives such as lowering the cost of diaspora transactions and aggregate diaspora remittances and investments. And that is all for optimal impact, for example, through preferential duty waivers and other concessions for diaspora businesses. Extension of formal banking opportunities and cheaper costs for financial transfers for the members of the diaspora, as well as the issuance of diaspora bonds. Your Excellency, we are also, and that was the request that came from the representative of the diaspora, creating a database of the diaspora and their expertise. We hope to leverage their knowledge and their experience. Today is a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to share ideas on how best we can engage and create opportunities for you. And you will find that there definitely will be challenges. But you've also been told by our sponsors that those challenges will provide the best returns for all of you.
I strongly believe that it's a very exciting time for our Kenyan diaspora. It has grown, it's become diversified, but most importantly, it has become an essential player in politics, the culture, and the development of our country. I think that ascendancy partly explains our gathering here today for this very first National Diaspora Conference hosted by my government. Let me also say that I'm grateful for the very warm support for this conference from the diaspora, and indeed also our business community, our sponsors and exhibitors who are present today, who come from all sectors of business. And really, I think this reflects the spirit of public-private partnership that we are very keen as a government to renew. Our theme this morning is the development and innovation opportunities for diaspora. And I wish to remind you of the point for a single and simple reason. It is unlikely that we will have the opportunity to meet so many of the stakeholders and players in diaspora matters before next year. So I really would like to urge each and every one of you, especially our own local private sector, to engage meaningfully with our diaspora, and also for our own diaspora to engage with our private sector and also government representatives who are here. Sio wengi lakini watakuja tu, labda wanafikiria kuna mengine sijui. Governments across the world are increasingly aware of the indispensable contribution of diaspora to the growth and the development of their countries of origin. Governments, especially we here in Kenya, have begun to take deliberate steps to formulate policies to harness this immense potential, and indeed are very keen to mainstream this into our national development plans. In Africa, we acknowledge the important role of the diaspora in the development of our countries, their countries of origin, by declaring the African diaspora the 6th constituency of our continent. The launch of the African Institute for Remittances in Nairobi in November of last year stressed the significance of the economic contribution of our diaspora. The Institute will, among other things, assist in capacity building of member states of the AU, remittance senders, recipients, and other stakeholders to manage remittances as a strategic asset. My government accepts, indeed admires, the important contribution of our brothers and sisters who are living abroad to the development of our country. And as has already been stated, last year alone, Kenyans living abroad remitted approximately $1.5 billion back into the country. Let me say, however, as much as we appreciate these flows, I would like you to know that we in government want to deepen our engagement with the diaspora beyond just remittances in order to make you feel at home, whether you are in Kenya or wherever you may be living in this world. In my various visits abroad, I always make it a point to meet with members of the Kenyan diaspora to understand their challenges and steps that we can take in order to alleviate their challenges. When we met last year with the diaspora in the United States, one of the issues that they raised was that they want to be enabled to bring home their left-hand drive vehicles so that they can enjoy the same benefits that their brothers and sisters in right-hand countries also enjoy. I want to believe, and Henry is here, mkipiga kelele mjue ni yeye, that the guidelines are now in place, and in addition, the government continues to give high priority to addressing issues affecting the diaspora. Consequently, diaspora diplomacy is now one of the pillars of Kenya's foreign policy. Apart from the remittances which contribute significantly to our economic development, we have enormous potential in our diaspora skills, knowledge and expertise that we in government should be tapping into to positively contribute to the growth of our economy. My government is committed to the implementation of the National Diaspora Policy, which I launched on the 20th of January this year. It remains of critical importance to mainstream the Kenyan diaspora in the development agenda in line with the aspirations and goals of our Vision 2030 by creating an enabling environment in which the diaspora is effectively integrated and is able to make significant contribution to the development of this nation. In the process of integration, the main thrust must be to unlock and maximize the hereto untapped promise of the diaspora and to use this energy to carry our country to greater heights, while at the same time meeting the needs and expectations of Kenyans living abroad at every point in time. This is crucial in developing a mutually beneficial relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin my conclusion by saying that the momentum is with Kenya and with Kenya's diaspora. Our constitution provides for the progressive realization of the voting rights of Kenyan citizens abroad. During the 2013 general elections, apart from the Kenyan diaspora who live within the partner states of East Africa, the rest of you were unable to participate in those elections. Let me once again assure you that my government is committed to ensure that all Kenyans living abroad are progressively facilitated to participate in the next elections to enable them to exercise their democratic right to choose their leaders. Well, we were talking about remittances. I think the key there is just basically to re-emphasize what we said and the commitment that we have as a government and as a country to fight this plague of corruption that has affected our country and affected our ability to move forward. And I think the only thing that I want to re-emphasize is the fact that unless we grapple with this problem, unless we tackle this problem convincingly and concretely, we are not going to be able to achieve our national development aspirations. And when we say that we want to fight it, we want to fight corruption, both real corruption and perceived corruption. And I want to once again re-emphasize that when we took the actions that we took it fully cognizant of what Kenyans were feeling on this particular issue. You know, today I sit back sometimes and wonder when people are standing up there and accusing me. On the one hand, they spend their time saying, this president is doing nothing about corruption. Then when we do something about corruption, then they say, oh, now you should not have done that because you should have waited for the investigative arms to do it. Sasa mnataka nifanya nini? I think really what we need to appreciate and to understand is that this is an issue that has engaged the minds of every single Kenyan, wherever they are, including our own diaspora who are here present with us today. By releasing that list, all I did was to say, these are the cases of corruption that have been reported. I never stood there and said anybody was guilty. I said, these are the cases that have been reported. Let Kenyans know what is out there. Let those who are in government stand aside, lest they be told that they are interfering with investigations. Let now the investigative arms, the prosecuting arms, the judicial arm do their work. If people are discovered and found to be innocent, I will be the first to welcome them back to work. If people are found to be guilty, shauri yao, kila mtu abebe mzigo wake. So really, I don't see the need for us to engage ourselves. This is what is available. And if people say that there are other issues that should have been on that list, peleka kwa anti-corruption. Hawa wakituletea list ingine, iwe na jina ya Amina, iwe na jina ya Uhuru, mimi nitawapatia tu mwangalia.
You say that perhaps there should have been a stronger message sent by you on your intolerance on corruption by perhaps you've had suggestions firing some of these individuals in your government that have been tainted.
I cannot fire somebody until proven guilty. I myself have gone through a process, yeah, of being accused falsely, right? So why should I now go and mimi sio judge, mimi sio prosecutor? Kama wewe umefanya what you have done, step aside. If you are proved clean, come back. If you are proved guilty, the law will take its course. But I cannot fire you until you have been proved guilty.
For the elected leaders, on the other hand, their argument is, since they have not yet been found guilty, they don't see a reason why they should step aside. Are you still calling for them step aside?
I am saying that kama umetajwa, weka kando, wache investigations be fine. And that's all. That is what Kenyans are expecting. And like I'm saying, an accusation is not a sentence of guilt. And I think, and I will believe, that every single Kenyan who believes that they are innocent would love to take advantage of this particular open and transparent process to show their innocence. What better way to show your innocence? Why hide something? Let it just be said out there. And let me appeal to our own brothers and sisters. Let us not use this to play politics. This is an issue that is of concern to our people. Let us handle it correctly. Let us handle it as a nation. Let us not handle it from an ethnic point of view. Let us not handle it from a political point of view. Corruption is corruption. It affects you whether you are a Jubilee supporter, whether you are an ODM supporter. It affects you whether you come from Eastern Kenya, whether you come from Western Kenya, whether you come from wherever. Jamani, tufanye hii kazi pamoja, tuache kupigana.
All right, at least we've gotten the elephant that's in the room out of the way. Let's go back to one of the key highlights as well in your speech that took everybody by surprise. That apology. There's been a number of cases of historical injustice in Kenya's past. Many people have died, and we've seen many injured, and many live with those scars that remind them of the dark moments in Kenya's history. What is it that prompted you to issue this apology?
I think, as I said again, and I repeat it because it's the truth. Kenya is a country where, over the past 50 years, we have made tremendous achievements. Achievements which I think we, as Kenyans, are proud of. So, mimi au nyao? We have made major achievements, which I think we as Kenyans are proud of. Major strides in education, major strides in health. We've made major strides in terms of infrastructure development. These are all things that I think Kenyans are very proud of. I believe as a country, we are at the cusp of greatness. We need to be able to move to the next level of development. We have now become a middle-income economy, a low-end middle economy, with huge potential of becoming a high-end middle-income economy. However, for us to be able to achieve that, we must be able to tackle some of the issues that have impeded our development. Partly associated with politics that have been mixed with accusations, problems that have existed in this country that have affected us in one way or another, which I stated out there quite clearly, which are well illustrated in the report before Parliament, the National Truth and Justice Commission report that is before Parliament, which is why I was encouraging the Parliament to debate it and to dispense with it. And I thought that it is important for us to be able to put closure. We can't continue saying, oh, you know, this happened, because it divides us as a people. It removes our ability to focus on those areas that can make us grow and prosper. And I thought it was time for us to close that chapter. We must be able to bring closure to our past, to be able to forgive each other for whatever errors or mistakes that we have made, in order for us to be able to embrace the future with a positiveness that helps us transform and bring prosperity to all our people. So I think that is what was driving me, and I am still committed to that, and I hope to get the understanding of our 40 million Kenyans for us to be able to move together with a recognition that we shall not achieve our agenda unless we move together as a united country. That is a program that is on track, and we believe will be conclusively completed within the next 2 to 3 years. That is a major program that we have focused ourselves on. The second was that we had promised that we would move towards ensuring greater access to electricity. We have increased our energy generation by at least 500 megawatts. We have increased the number of schools connected to the grid from a previous 8,000 to 18,000, with a commitment that by the end of this financial year, every single primary school in the Republic of Kenya will be connected to the grid so that all our children will be free for that. We were committed to improving the health of the people of our republic. We have done so by introducing free maternity. We have moved from 40% mothers who used to give birth in our public institutions to 80% as a result of the introduction of free maternity. We promised that we would move to greater equip our hospitals. We are on track with that pledge to bring in better diagnostic equipment. As you heard, major complaints when the equipment in Kenyatta Hospital broke down because it was the only facility in Kenya that had, for example, cancer treatment facilities.
Has been security, and we'll talk about that also in relation to travel advisories, Madam Ambassador. But I want to first throw it to Ted with our audience member, then we'll continue.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Ladies and gentlemen, would like to come to the floor and ask those of us from the diaspora who would like to ask various questions. Those of us who couldn't make it, we already have quite a bit of questions and touching on various things, on voting, on the renewal of passports, dual nationalities, we have remittances, and especially the people. You will sit at your chair, don't come to the front. I have runners on the floor who will be able to bring the mic. All you need to do is put up your hand and I'll direct.
That's what I'm suggesting. That organization can start supervising PhD students in this country today. Make that happen, please. My organization is in a position to start helping to supervise PhD students in this country today. We need to make a program that is paying these diasporans to come back to these African countries, people that are in the research area, to actually spearhead research locally. I'm requesting you to domesticate that program, which means you create a Kenyan equivalent right here. That program is ending next year. We need to continue it. So we need specific money to pay me, for example, an airfare ticket or something to come here and actually be able to pay back my country. Number 3, as we're talking about remittances, we need to start creating a fund that invests in the diaspora. So I'm suggesting about 5% of the remittances that come into the country to be set aside to start reinvesting in some of the programs that actually you outlined. We are in a knowledge economy, and Kenya is not going to be able to go to the upper echelons of the income without increasing research capacity. And if you implement a single program like that, Your Excellency will be able to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Engaged them, but I want to make it very clear that KQ operates as a private commercial entity. And what we are doing is encouraging them by telling them that we would want to see them support our own development agenda. So this is a discussion indeed that we are having with them. We cannot dictate to them the prices that they charge, but we are passing and communicating to them on a regular basis the concerns that we get from our Kenyans wherever we travel. We are committed to seeing that we really fast-track the ability of our people to vote. We have a task force already in place looking at the measures that need and require to be put in place to enable our Kenyans to vote. I know that IEBC is also beginning a process of identifying Kenyans wherever they are in order to see how they can incorporate them in the voters register. My only commitment once again is that we will do everything that we can to ensure that by the next election our diaspora is allowed and can vote. Whether they vote for me or whoever they want, hiyo ni haki yenu. Parcels that we produce every year. So if our diaspora can help us in that, I think that is a positive move. And we need to waweke pamoja na wakina Suda na Kaimeni sababu si hawa ndio wenye hiyo maneno. Sisi tuko tayari, and I'm sure Henry, that is a good program. Anaweza weka pesa kidogo, anajua bunge labda itapitisha. Si ni namna hiyo? Hiyo tumekubali. Wonderful suggestion.
Thank you very much.
I'll talk to the diasporans. The diasporians, we have lived to an age whereby we should stop criticizing each other on social media. If we want to move forward, we need to recognize what the government is doing, to passing a lot of motions in parliament in regards to the diaspora issues. We need you to support His Excellency the President, because he cannot do it alone without you people. These things of corruption, he gave you the list. Then do not finger him and say that he has done this or that. My question is, Mr. President, we have the issues of land. Sisi wa Kenya ambaye tunakaa Ulaya, we need to have a piece of land here. But in most cases, we learn to collect and show the schemes meant for Kenyans in diaspora because see to collect. We need the government to look for a system where our investment should be secured. That is one. The second issue is about, we can talk of diaspora if we do not create a national diaspora advisory board or a council where we can even put it on stock exchange. We put money in that board and then trying to invest, direct where we can invest that money in. That's the second question, and last question is that as the President. We have the last question, Mr. President, is that question of security of our investments and to be able to have that security of what you invest in Kenya. Thank you, Mr. President. Asante sana.
Your Excellency.
Yeah, there are others also who can answer. The lady from the United Kingdom, I think that's a very good point that you've raised. If possibly with a growing number of people living in the diaspora, the need for us to be able to have facilities to handle families and also the bodies of those who may die while working abroad in a humane and dignified manner. I think that's something that I've taken up and I will take up with the Kenya Airports Authority to see if they can help us in that endeavor.
The Brussels conference, and that our focus is economic development, and that economic diplomacy is actually our primary pillar, and therefore we expect them to perform. When I was in Germany, and I want to actually defend our new envoy to Germany, when I was in Germany for the Munich Security Conference, we were in Munich together, and we actually sought out the Kenyans ourselves and asked them for a meeting, and had a very, very successful diaspora meeting. We agreed with him at that point that he's going to have roadshows, and we need to provide resources to our envoys so that they can have this road go to every part of the countries that they're accredited to, and if they're accredited to more than one country, then they can actually also attend to Kenyans in the other countries. They need resources. We are working on it, Your Excellency, but I think it was important for them to be at this session so that they can hear directly from the diaspora.
Wonderful. I think the other issue was the issue of land and investments. I think you should take advantage of the people who are here now. The financial institutions are here, they are property developers, to really see how you can handle that particular issue, to ensure that you are also working with legitimate and upright construction companies or property development companies. I think that is part and parcel of this meeting, working together with the financial institutions that are here, the property developers that are here, to ensure that you get quality. And I think this is why we keep saying we want this structured type of a dialogue, because we appreciate what the diaspora does. But in so many cases that we have heard, You know, there's one story I was told of, you know, and this is what we are trying to avoid, of somebody, I think, was living in the US, and then he had his brother here, his own brother. So, akakatiwa shamba na wazee, akachukua. So the brother there said, okay, you supervise the building of my house. He used to send this brother money every month, supervising his house. Mwishowe jamaa wakati alirudi akakuta ndugu yake amejenga nyumba yake, akamwambia ploti yako ndio pale. So that question is better answered by the British.
Terror is a global threat. It's not just Kenya.
That's okay. I completely agree with you, and that's why I'm saying the last attacks were, I have not heard them issue travel advisories against the British who go to Paris. I have not heard them issue travel advisories against other European countries that have also been victims of terrorism. The whole world today, is under threat from terrorism. This is why we're saying this is a global problem that requires a global response. We in Kenya are playing our part to the maximum. Right? What we are doing in Somalia, we are playing our part. And we would think that our friends would be in the front line of saying we want to support, we want to encourage Kenya in its battle against terrorism. And in fact, we want to send a very strong message that they will not intimidate us with their acts of terror. And this really is what you would expect, you know, a friend to do. And that's why we greatly welcome, as much as they don't want their taxi drivers to come. President Obama has said he's coming.
Because you have the EU head of delegation to Kenya saying that the difficulty they find in reviewing some of the travel advisories is because they're not getting sufficient information on the state of security from Kenya. Those are sentiments.
I want to answer that question directly.
Yes.
And be very categorical to say that that is untrue, and I challenge them. I challenge them now to say we have, as I have said, we have been cooperating with them from an intelligence point of view. There is nothing that they can claim not to be aware of. We share, we cooperate, and we work together. You need one.
Let's move on to another issue because, again, we mentioned earlier, a huge challenge has been security. What do you tell Kenyans now, across the board, whether in northern Kenya, eastern Kenya, western, the south, that the government has put in place to ensure Kenyans, no matter where they are safe? We've had a number of attacks here and there. This could be said by some to be a lull, not that the security challenge has been sorted out. What do you say?
I will be the first to admit that we still have security challenges. But we as a government are doing everything that we can to ensure that we both bolster our security in all parts of this country, working with communities on issues that are community related, working on counter terrorism, working on de-radicalization programs which we are investing, working on improving the welfare of our security officers, working to improve the resources made available in terms of equipment. As I said in my statement the other day, for the first time, we have over the last 2 years added an additional 2,400 police vehicles to help patrols in all corners of Kenya. Yeah? On average, previous to that, we were doing 200 cars a year. Now, 2,400, a huge increase. These are resources that we're putting in to improve the security and the welfare, of our people. We committed ourselves to 10,000 additional policemen and women. We are told that we don't follow the rule of law when it is the courts. This is all problem. Yeah? And the courts allowed us, we would have by now an additional 10,000 policemen.
This time sitting president is coming to Kenya. there have been a few issues with the US. Sometimes, I remember when you attended the African Leaders Summit, in an interview you said that you felt Kenya was not receiving enough support in the war against terror. Of course, travel advisories again applied and have been a challenge. What is it you hope to raise with him in this particular visit? What are some of the discussions you hope to have?
Well, definitely, one, strengthening our partnership, which is already very solid, on the issue of the fight against terrorism, working together in terms of de-radicalization strategies that can be applied, working together in terms of reform and strengthening of our security arrangements. Without a doubt, the most important also being the entrepreneurial conference, seeing how, again, we can get together to bolster, especially the startup entities in IT and other areas, but also how we can increase more investment from US companies here in Kenya, and how Kenya can become a focal point for US investment, not just in Kenya, but also in the region. I think these are just some of the areas where we will really be focusing our attention.
I want to congratulate the diaspora for the massive resources we get through remittance. I think the figures we report is figures about $800 million per annum. But I'm informed that there are many, the figure actually, which goes unreported, is about 1.2 billion. So total remittance that we are actually estimating is that it's about $2 billion that we got annually from you. So really, the reason why we have this African, that's why we bidded very strongly for the African Institute of Remittance, is because we were recognized as a big recipient of remittance, and we want to take the lead in terms of setting the legal and institutional arrangements to ensure that remittance flow to the countries in a very smooth way, enables you to send money without any difficulty. So the African Institute of Remittance will be working on so many frameworks. We will also be working with banks to ensure that your remittance comes to Kenya in a much less difficult manner, and we will be informing you on some of the initiatives that we are doing. Let me diaspora invest in Kenya through the instruments that we have. Recently, as you are aware, that we launched the Eurobond, and we went outside the country to raise funds through a sovereign bond. That sovereign bond is now trading in the Irish Stock Exchange, and it gives an opportunity for also diaspora to buy in the secondary market. So we are working on arrangements to ensure that you participate in that. Now we are also thinking, like other countries, Nigeria and I think Israel, which has done a diaspora bond. There are difficulties on how to do a diaspora bond, but we are informed that we can overcome those challenges. I think I would like to encourage you to form vehicles, special purposes vehicles. We were in Japan about 2 weeks ago, and we were very impressed by the diaspora there, which they had set up an Afro-Asia Diaspora Club as a sort of an SPV to invest jointly in either the infrastructure bonds that we issue here locally, or when we go outside there to issue an international sovereign bond. So I would like to really challenge you for the other countries to actually come up with this special purpose vehicle so that we can engage you in all the investments opportunities that we have here in Kenya. Thank you.
Services, so we don't necessarily have to set up a physical center outside of Kenya. For those who are outside the country, they'll be able to get the same level of access to government.
Diaspora cannot be overemphasized. This is something that I fully agree and support. In terms of prioritizing I think we are doing everything that we can to ensure that the diaspora is fully integrated into all government policies, programs, and development plans. It may be difficult now to create additional ministries, because we still have Katiba, hata wewe ulikuwa hapa tukiunda. It has given us severe limitations. But I think the important aspect is just the recognition, the prioritization of diaspora affairs, and ensuring that they are constantly at the center of not just the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but all government ministries and agencies. So I think that is something that we must endeavor to move rapidly along. I think to my sister, is just to say that part and parcel of what we are trying to do when we do our travels is to again engage with the governments of these countries to try and facilitate trade, investment, partnerships, to try and facilitate the smooth flow of people, because it is the people-to-people engagement that allows and facilitates business and trade. So we will take it up, and I'm sure the ministry has also heard, and even when we get an opportunity to venture into those parts, we will be able to raise those issues and concerns and say we're not going to be able to achieve the kind of engagement both from trade and investment unless our people are able to move with relative ease and comfort. I think now yes, direct flights to Vietnam is in the answer. So that's part and parcel of helping making it easier, yeah, to do business. I think I just want to conclude by saying that once again, thank you for the participation. We have agreed, as I've been requested out there, that we need to make this, an annual, a minimum of a biannual, if not an annual conference, because the ambassadors come every 2 years. So maybe we can have it, biannually, so that we can compare notes. Where are we? What have we managed to achieve from the last time we met to date? But I just want to once again emphasize that we consider you a very important constituency of the Republic. Yeah? We will do everything that we can as a government to facilitate you. We will do everything that we can to facilitate your investments in this country by continuously, as Henry was saying, creating additional instruments that can be of use. We will continue to see how we can make your life easier in terms of passport issuances, how we can actually push that up as high as we possibly can, because I believe so doing, we also liberate ourselves from dependence on other development partners, and we will...
I request for all of us to be upstanding. We shall be led in prayer.
What's moving on the bus? Are we fine? Are we fine? Thank you, Your Excellency.
lunch is served. And as we take lunch, Calabash Band from Nairobi will provide lunchtime music.
Chapati choma. Hii kuku gani?
Diaspora Sacco and the diaspora, we are happy to have you join us in this luncheon. Now, we want to present you with a small token, Mr. President, and I'm going to call my board members. We come and present it to you, if you don't mind. Sir, thank you.
Wonderful. This is lovely. That's diaspora. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. This is wonderful. God bless. Asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki.
Thank you. We have the permission of His Excellency the President to continue taking our lunch. We allow His Excellency the President to leave at his pleasure. Thank you.
Did you get some food? Did you get some food? Did you get some food? Yeah, I did.
Mwenye mai nitaiweka hapa mbele. Mwenye mai nitaiweka hapa kwa meza.
Where were you before? No. Oh, Boston.
Boston. Wow. Mass. Lowell, Lynn, Greenfield, I'm a which one? I'm a Boston downtown.
So what do you do? Just go to the website? Just put in those responses. We didn't come with initiative for membership.
Yeah, you just can take the card, and the beautiful thing is you can sign up this thing online. You really don't need.
No, you can.
Yeah,
just
take it.
that's fine. Yeah,